What's the weirdest way you became friends with someone? When I was around 10 years old, if I was playing in the backyard I would bark back in response to any dogs I heard barking in the neighborhood. I guess I like to think I was talking to them or something. One day, I'm barking back and forth with a dog and my dad walks into the backyard to tell me to come around to the front to see who I'm barking with. Turn out it was another 10-year-old girl who liked to walk up streets and bark to try and communicate with dogs trapped in their yards. So then we obviously became super good friends until she moved away a couple years later. Totally weird in hindsight. Attempted to run away from home in the 9th grade. I went to school that morning. Before class I approached one of the groups of people that hung out near where me and my friends hung out. I joined the circle and told them I was running away. Can I stay with somebody? One person said yes. So we skipped school and became friends for 10 years. I was the best man at his wedding. A friend of mine became best buds with the guy that stole his car. Guess they both really like cars. That has to be the weirdest story I have ever heard. Someone steals his car and they end up friends. Does he befriend every mugger and thief who ever stole from him? Or is this one special? Seen me. 6th grade. Kid who never talked to me was talking to his GF. I was talking with some of my friends. Kid overhears me even say the word Halo. Wait, hold on. He leaves his GF's side. You have Halo? Yeah man. Can I come over, we can play? Yeah man. Seen 10 years later. Still buds. For 10 years. The GF has been waiting for him to come back. When I was 13. I bought a wheelchair at a garage sale for 20. One day I was trying to ride wheelies with the chair in my driveway. Random kid riding by on his bike saw me and asked if he could try. 20 years later, both of us were best men at each other's weddings and we can still ride a wheelies like ducking pros. I punched one of my bullies in the face. He weirdly became my friend afterwards. Then he started picking on me and I punched him to remind him again. Sounds like he has some sort of reset counter every once in a while, lol. I hated a girl I worked with because my crush would hit on us both. One day I went up and asked her about him. We both realized he was saying and doing the same things towards us both. Bonded over mutual hatred. I was in high school in America. Girl had some fascination with me. She tried desperately to get me to talk to her. Oh wow, you're from the Middle East. I love your accent. She once asked me if I wanted to come over to her place and hang out. I laughed and said no sorry, I'm going home to play Doom and eat hummus. Which Doom? The original. For my PC. Can I come and play? She came over, played Doom. We became inseparable. She had lots of health issues and did visit her in the hospital and set up Doom on my SNES for her. We would drive in my shitty car for hours having fun. Walk through cornfields. Ride horses. We lost touch right before I graduated. After searching for one another for many years we reconnected a few months ago. I flew to America to see her. That night we played Doom. Back in school I was bored in class, I forget which one. Probably history, I love history. But most people suck at making it interesting. Teacher was droning on. So I was swinging back on my chair looking around for nothing in particular. Made eye contact with another dude who was doing the exact same thing. We smirked, nodded. Then next class sat next to each other. That dude became my best mate for 3 years. True brothers don't even need words. When I was 3 years old, I went bowling with my family. I couldn't bowl because hey, I was just barely larger than the bowling ball. According to my mom, I was trying to push the ball when this other little girl came up to me and said, "You're really bad at that." I went and cried to her, and the other girl's mom made her go apologize to me. She and I have been best friends for the last 17 years. Got in a throwdown, nose bloodying, fist fight with a girl on my school bus in the 4th grade. We became inseparable friends for years. This standoffish girl in middle school rode the same bus as me. We talked occasionally, and I would sometimes keep talking as we got off the bus. Then I did so for a bit too long. Started walking her home. She goes, "Don't you walk the other way," but with a tone that meant, "Okay, please leave me alone now." But it kept happening. Eventually I would walk her to her driveway. She'd tell me to go away at that point. One day, we gushed about our hatred for a mutual friend's current boyfriend. She told me I could come hang out for a bit if her uncle didn't kill me. Then it just became normal. I'd hang out at her place, and she would get mad if I tried to turn and walk my way instead of to her house. We became best friends, and me walking the other way became my way of solidifying the fact that we were fighting. We always made up, of course. I ended up being really into her, but it wasn't mutual. We hardly talk anymore these days, but we were pretty inseparable in high school. There was a guy in high school that we just called God because he was so beautiful. I mean, Greek chiseled God kind of beautiful. One day he asked me out. Holy shit, right? Wrong. Found out he had a girlfriend, and she and I had friends in common. One such friend was a drama-loving kind of person. She decided we should fight over him. I'm not a fighter, but I figured I had a good chance. The girlfriend and I were same size and build. We went out to parking lot, with everyone chanting fight, fight, fight. She looked at me, and I at her. I was terrified. All senses aware. Hypersensitive. "Do you want to hug?" she asked. What? I counter. "Do you want to hug instead of fight?" She asked again. Yes, as I hugged her. Good idea. Best friends. Soulmates even. For 16 years now. She had a baby with my boyfriend. We mutually hate him now, and their daughter is my favorite person. Was dating a guy in college, and he said there was a guy next door so weird no one could be friends with him. He dared me to try. I went and sat in said guy's room, and talked until he talked to me. Took several visits of my sitting there awkwardly. Still friends to this day. He was in my wedding a few years back even. I met my best friend on my first day of training in retail. She is boyish and very pretty. She was training me on a register and told me, "Your mom came through my line earlier." Knowing my mom, I asked about what she said. Apparently, she tried to subtly hook me up with her, not realizing she was a girl. We had a good laugh about it and have been best friends since. Not too weird, but I met my boyfriend on Sparkslive. Kind of trips me out sometimes thinking that if I had just gone to bed instead of stay up and play one more round, then my kid would have never been born. Met my best friend at a trivia night. Our group got the last available table, and he asked if his group could sit with us. He was with 2 other people, and I was with 2 other people. And now neither of us talked to anybody else we were with that night. We both broke our arms at the same relative time in elementary school, so every day during recess me and him played board games instead of that. That was mid-2000s, and we are still brothers to this day. I got an ex-boyfriend to help me move. His super jealous girlfriend insisted on coming with him. Halfway through the move, me and her started cracking jokes about her boyfriend, while carrying some boxes into the garage. Well, me being as uncoordinated as I am, trip and hit her wrist with a crowbar I was carrying in. It ended up breaking a bone in her wrist, and I spent all night in EMERG with her while her boyfriend finished up moving the boxes. While at the hospital we bonded. To this day I don't know how it works, but we are best of friends 5 years later. But where's the boyfriend? Still moving boxes. His hopes for an impromptu 3-way long gone. I laughed at a guy on a school bus. He went to a different school from me, and was always doing silly things, like burning people with a magnifying glass, or climbing into the luggage racks. I never knew his name, but always kinda liked him. I never said anything, because I was so shy. One day he caught me laughing, and then came over and talked to me. Turns out he was really nice and very intelligent, just a bit mischievous. Ended up being my first boyfriend. That was in 1997. We have long since broken up, because he moved to England a year later. But we actually still talk to each other. My best friend during school Cameron and I are the result of a parasitic relationship in which he grabbed things for me that I was too short to reach. Back in kindergarten, whenever you got breakfast or lunch you had to use a punch card that was on a wall in the lunch line to pay, and mine was really high up on the wall and I could never reach it. But with tall friends like Cameron, nothing is impossible. Me and my first best friend hated each other when we first met, but we hung out because had a mutual friend. This girl and I were in the same homeroom in junior high. During a break a bunch of us from the class were just exploring about. I felt like a weird tag-along but no one complained, so with at the back of the school we found some broken glass. I got excited and was like, these are diamonds. And the girl joined in immediately. We made all sorts of crazy plans for what we were going to do with those diamonds. And suddenly I had a friend. Still my best friend 15 years later. A hamster. Had a friend last year in college post a picture of a hamster. I wanted to play with it. I asked my friend if I could, and she said it was her roommate's, but that I could play with it anyway. I go to her room, and as I'm playing with the hamster we discuss how badly we want to see the northern lights. We then, after knowing each other for about 2 hours, book a trip to Norway. We are international students, so we can travel on a whim. She and I become very close. We are living in a house together this year all because of a hamster. R.I.P. Pippin. The oddest friendship I've had goes something like this. 6th grade. On the bus. The bus is like half full. When I get in, I sit in the 3rd row on the right side. I didn't know it at the time, but some dickface 8th grade like assigned himself that seat, but because his stop was after mine I couldn't have possibly known. He was like the kind of kid that put gel into his hair, so that he had like 8 giant spikes etc. He was a big ducking kid too, even for an 8th grade, which already has an enormous size difference between a 6th grade. Anyways, he gets on and starts bitching at me to get out of his seat. Now, this was like day 1 of middle school. I basically treated it like I'd imagine prison. I told him to get lost. I was definitely not going to be a bitch on day 1. But truth be told I was terrified. He picked up my backpack and threw it to the back of the bus and then stuck his fingers under my throat and I choked. Then I got thrown to the back of the bus. I was shocked. Bus driver didn't even do shit. She started to yell at him and he's like, this is my assigned seat blah blah, and the bus driver just drops it. So basically I got beat up on day 1. Luckily, he didn't ride the bus home. Only in the mornings. So I get on the bus to go home and sit in a different seat. This kid sits next to me and we make small talk. His name is Scene and he's also a 6th grader. Eventually the conversation leads to the time you got your ass kicked by the spiky haired gorilla. All I could think of, no shit idiot. That happened this morning. We both started laughing. The next morning, me being the dumbest that I am, sits right in that kid's seat again. The bus driver gave me a look but just kept driving. Sure enough, big ass spiky haired gorilla kid with his stupid Slipknot shirt and rocker wristbands gets on. He doesn't even hesitate, just starts wailing on me. At this point I basically started laughing because I was pinned into the corner of the seat and he was mostly punching my backpack instead of me. This time, he opens my back and then throws it to the back of the bus, sending my shit everywhere. I didn't even bother continuing to fight after that. I just got up and started collecting my shit. Snickers from other kids and girls laughing just made it worse. So, that afternoon I get on the bus and take a seat next to Scene, who made it on the bus before me this time. He just starts laughing and asks me how long I'm gonna keep trying to sit in that kid's spot. I laughed and just said every day. Now, I think it's important to mention that it's literally day ducking too, and I've gotten beaten up twice. A good portion of the school knows me as the kid who got beaten up on the bus, and I have no idea why I continue to make my life hard on myself. But I did. So the next morning, I get on the bus, but this time Scene is sitting in the 3rd seat. I may have forgotten to mention that he got on before me in the mornings, so I sit next to him and asked him if he was ready to join the fight in a sarcastic "we are about to die" way. He says that we should tie our backpacks using the shoulder straps to the metal rods that connect the seat to the main frame of the bus, so he can't throw our shit as easily. I start cracking up. This kid scene was no bigger than me. We were both skater kids and that was about all we had in common. I was 99% sure he'd bail when the gorilla kid got on. But he didn't. The kid loses his ducking shit this time. Goes completely nuts. At this point I'm just laughing, because this seat ducking sucks. Why the duck would he want it so bad? He tries to grab our backpacks to throw them, but they stay secured to the seat. We start laughing, and scene, I shit you, not just kicks this kid in the ducking face as hard as he could. The kid goes reels back across the island. We just ducking jumped on him. The bus was going ducking wild, because I'm sure most of them hated this kid too but just never did shit about it. The bus driver had to pull over and call the police. Probably to nobody's surprise, I guess this was like Gorilla Kid's last chance at a normal school before having to go to an alternative school for misbehavior. The bus driver finally did her ducking job and told the police that he had been harassing us, and we stood up for ourselves. Unfortunately, I moved schools halfway through 7th grade and I have tried to find that kid over years just to see how his life turned out. He had no reason to side with some stubborn skinny 6th grader, especially after seeing me get my ass handed to me repeatedly. We were really good friends for the rest of 6th and 7th grade. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.